Okay, tonight we're going to discuss the Eighth Amendment of the Constitution. Every animal rights law in the United States is in violation of the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment is written to protect the rights of the American people from cruel, unusual, and excessive punishment. And every time law enforcement officers go out to make any raid or enforce any law, they create situations where they're going to use force. That force always includes the possibility of deadly force. So, excessive punishment. Any district attorney that's trying to, as a matter of fact, though, Stephen Carter, a Yale law professor, he always tells his class on the first day of law school that never support any law unless you support killing someone to enforce that law. Now that's the reality of your animal rights laws. Any district attorney that is enforcing an animal rights law and charging someone with it inside of a courtroom, that district attorney is endorsing the possibility of killing a person. Any judge that signs a warrant authorizing government agents to invade your home, invade your property, violate your privacy, using the excuse that the animals you own are a higher priority, that judge has endorsed, sanctioned government agents to kill you, to force you into this animal religious practice of paganism, of animal worship. Because they're literally placing a higher value on the animal than they are human rights and human lives. So as law enforcement officers try to enforce any law, they're going to create situations where they may hurt, cripple, or kill a human being. And they don't have that authority to do that. The government does not have the authority to do that. Period. They have the power to do that, but they don't have the lawful authority. See, Adolf Hitler used animal rights laws the same way. Adolf Hitler used animal rights laws to destroy human rights in Nazi Germany. There's a research paper titled Understanding Nazi Animal Protections in the Holocaust, written by Professor Boris Sachs. And in the research paper, he states that the Nazis enacted animal rights laws in order to reduce man to the status of an animal, thereby allowing the government to treat some segments of society like animals. When I said the government does not have the lawful authority, the government draws its power and its lawful authority from we the people. So the government can only have the authority that an individual has. If I come to your house and try to force you into my opinion over animals that you own, I don't have that authority to do that. And because there's one of you and one of me, you have the power to resist me. If I get 9 of my friends to come with me, and we're not coming to your house to force you into my opinion over, or our opinion over the animals that you own, we still do not have the authority to do that. We might have the power now because there's 10 of us, but we don't have the lawful authority to do it because it's a violation of your human rights. And because the government draws its lawful authority from the people, we as people, as individuals, cannot give the government authority that we ourselves do not possess. If my neighbor is coming over and killing my animals, and I go out and stop my neighbor from killing my animals, I may have to use force. That means I might have to kill my neighbor to stop him from killing my animals. I have that authority and I have that right. And there's one of him, one of me, so I have the power. If my neighbor is going out on his yard and killing his own animals, I don't have the authority to go over and stop him from doing that. I don't have the authority to call the law sheriff and have the sheriff come out and do that. If I go out and I try to stop him, he's got the power to resist me. If I kill him to stop him from doing that, I'm going to prison for murder. And so I cannot give that power to the sheriff because I didn't have the authority to do it in the first for myself. I don't have the authority to give that authority to the sheriff. So if the sheriff comes out and tries to stop my neighbor from killing his own animals, he can be using his animals for target practice. Doesn't matter. He can be throwing them into the air and shooting them. It doesn't matter. They're his animals. If I call the sheriff and say, hey, sheriff, you got to stop the neighbor. He's killing all of his animals. And the sheriff comes out and kills the neighbor. The sheriff never had the authority to do that. Not the lawful authority, not the constitutional authority. Because that's a violation. The sheriff has the power, or may have the power, but he has killed a human being to defend an animal that human being owned. That's a violation of the constitutionally protected rights of the individual. You deprive that individual of their life, their liberty, their pursuit of happiness, their culture, their heritage, their agriculture industry, their private property rights, and their life. Understand what that individual, I mean, you are endangering that individual had the right to defend their life, their liberty, their pursuit of happiness, their culture, their heritage, their agriculture industry, their property rights, their home, their family. The sheriff took all that away from the individual because they were trying to protect the animals that individual owned. That is very excessive. And that threat is always in the possibility of the enforcement of any law. So ask yourself one question. What punishment is not excessive when the government is punishing an American citizen, a human being, using the excuse that the animals that American owned, that human being, the animals that human being owned are a higher priority to the government? The only way that happens is if the government puts a higher value on an animal than it does human rights and human lives. I explain all of this in my book, God Gave Man Dominion, the foundation of American government. The first half of the book explains what's going on in America, who's behind it, how it's all tied to a global communist agenda called United Nations Agenda 21, which the Green New Deal, most people have never heard of Agenda 21, but they've heard of the Green New Deal. Well, the Green New Deal is simply some of the individual policies that are meant to support the overall United Nations Agenda 21 plan for global communism. We have to educate ourselves. Knowledge is power. Even the Bible tells you, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The Constitution protects the rights of the individual American given us by our Creator from the majority. And thus the Constitution protects the God-given rights of the individual from the power of the government. Pick up a copy of this book. It's printed by an on-demand print company called Lulu Press. They don't even print the book until you order it. When you order it, they print it and they mail it directly to you. Read it. Educate yourself. Understand what's going on. The second half of the book is the actual motions to dismiss that have been filed in courtrooms all over the U.S. in several states. With slight modification, those motions, you can type them out. They're written exactly in the same format that they need to be written in. With slight modification, you can use them in every courtroom in the United States on any argument, on animals, on any argument of animal neglect, any argument of animal cruelty, any argument of property rights. Because you have to remember, animals are property. So order the book, educate yourself, and be ready to fight for your rights in the courtroom. That's where we have to be ready and willing to take this fight. But by understanding the information in this book, you can debate the animal rights laws with anyone in the United States and win. And when I say anyone, I've stood face to face with lawyers, district attorneys, sheriffs, and had this discussion. U.S. Marshals, when you can articulate this, their side of the argument is lost because their side of the argument is in violation of the Constitution of the United States and our God-given rights. Order the book. Educate yourself. Appreciate your time.